Lots of spoilers here. Go watch these two before I ruin them. Dumb and Dumber is my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah!
I'll attempt to justify this, but it's mostly because it's the foundation for many meaningful relationships. It's also highly quotable,
Oh, big gulp, son!
perfectly acted, and the funniest movie I've ever seen. But beneath these points of entry is something more grounded in human nature that, dare I say, is artistic and meaningful. Dumb and Dumber is an exploration of the relationship between misery and humor, and the ways people cope and alleviate existential dread. I won't pretend this movie is more profound than it deserves, but whether intended or not, there is substance within the Farrelly brothers' most notable film. From the opening frames, we see Lloyd on Hope Street, establishing his idle mode, which is longing for something he does not have. His despair is confirmed through a quote survived on a plethora of merchandise.
We got no food, we got no jobs, our pets' heads are falling off!
More seriously, Lloyd explains,
I'm sick and tired of having to eke my way through life. Sick and tired of being a nobody.
the body of the movie is Lloyd's journey into giving his most honest shot at living a meaningful existence, completely for the moment, even if it means future hurt feelings. But his effort finds him nothing more than a great road trip, and his character arc ends in him accepting a lonely life, at least romantically. It might be my own projection, but I believe Lloyd chooses his despair after he has given his best effort to no avail. He is by no means a scholar, but he is playing dumb when he chooses to walk the barren road.
Just gotta keep our eyes open.
Harry and Lloyd still have no food and no jobs, and their pets' heads won't be coming back. He is more comfortable in hoping for future improvement, which he is now faking, than actually living with that improvement. He might make this choice because he has an authentic love for Mary, but I think he chooses pain because this is what he knows. All of us have found those ruts of life where the best choices are the last decision we would make. As is true for most slapstick, the worse of a situation the main characters are in, the more we find comedy through their experience. I know this is a hard sell. Dumb and Dumber isn't revered for pulling at our heartstrings nor having depth. Some of the comedy hasn't aged well, as it's insensitive to various cultures and orientations. Even in filmmaking, it is full of continuity errors. I'll be the first to admit that the meaning I derive from it is perhaps more imagined than it is intended. That being said, it still has helped me find humor in darkness and find meaning in lightheartedness. And even if unintentional, it's hard to find another slapstick film that makes me feel something, be it derived or by design. It will always be my all-time favorite. Fast forward 22 years and the Daniels released what I consider the realized potential of slapstick, with a farting corpse at the center of an existential masterpiece. Swiss Army Man begins with Hank, played by Paul Dano, attempting suicide on a deserted island, before being distracted by a dead body washed ashore. This corpse is played by Daniel Radcliffe and farts a lot. Hank rides the corpse back to the mainland where it learns to speak and is known as Manny. Hank teaches Manny the social norms of society while helping him recollect who he was in his past life, and particularly his lost love, Sarah. Manny's body provides a variety of functions for Hank on his journey to finding civilization, most notably an erection that serves as a compass.
Manny, I think your penis is guiding us home.
It is eventually revealed that Hank has been protruding his own love for Sarah onto Manny's experience. Together, they find Sarah's home, and Sarah is less than pleased. The film ends with Manny's gas carrying him across the ocean while Hank is being arrested on the beach. I've heard many interpretations of this film, from Hank being dead the entire time to allegories of society's treatment of homosexual relationships. These are certainly plausible and not necessarily contradictory to my own. From the broadest stance, my interpretation is that Hank is alive and that Manny's corpse is real.
I'm just hallucinating from starvation.
Hank chooses not to commit suicide because Manny reminds him of what he would become, a farting sack of skin on the beach. While Manny's body exists, his personality does not. Every word spoken and action taken by Manny is no more than one of Hank's thoughts. Hank's self-deprecation comes from both sides.
You're broken and empty. Oh, you're the worst.
And Manny's positive attitude is Hank's self-encouragement.
Well, maybe everyone's a little bit ugly,
as he is the reason he's still alive. The island does not exist and represents Hank's feelings of abandonment. He has been essentially stalking Sarah behind her house for several days. At a very minimum, Hank spends 18 days with Manny. Shown through the dates on brief moments, he checks for cell service. This could in fact be a year and 18 days if we interpret Hank's missed emails coming within the timeline of the film. I think that Hank spent a great deal of time in the forest before the film begins without Manny. The trash found by Hank in the forest is his own.
And go home and eat a whole box of pizza by myself.
Whether this is true or not, we know that their time in the forest has not been brief.
We were lost out there in the woods for a very long time.
Music in this film is potent and excellent. Hank tells us in the beginning of the film that,
Man, it's always the song that you hate that gets stuck in your head.
we can assume from this point on that Hank is creating the music we are hearing in his own head. He tells us that
My mom used to sing this song to me when I couldn't sleep, so I wouldn't overthink things.
the lyrics sang on and off screen are exactly the same.
Stop singing, you weren't supposed to hear that.
Things begin to get especially heady when Manny and Hank are attacked by a bear, which feels like it should be the film's climax. Hank lied to Manny, and Manny's earnest lessons amount to disappointment. And there are explosions and a weird assembly line thing and blah blah blah. But it is the last 10 minutes which are most revelatory. If we are to believe characters other than Hank, it is here that we learn that Sarah has no recollection of Hank,
What are you doing in my backyard?
and confirm that Manny is a real corpse.
Probably bridge jumping.
We now realize that we've grown emotionally attached to a man who plays with a dead body behind the home of a woman he is stalking. Manny's erection has acted like a compass because Hank is driven by lust before anything else for Sarah. This compass eventually led them to none other than her home. The other qualities he loves about her he has made up, as we know he does not know her at all. Hank told us earlier,
The more you're gonna see of me, the more you're not gonna like me.
but we had no idea it could have been this bad. And yet the clues have been there all along.
Before the internet, every girl was a lot more special.
And so now, when you masturbate, you think about your mom.
Make up little love stories for each of them.
Girls must be so nice if they let guys do all those things to them.
Girls like mysterious.
We just wanted to have faith in our main character. Now that we've spent an entire film with him, maybe we still do. The trip back to the beach as Hank escapes with Manny is a short one. The journey through the forest, which lasted several days, appears to take a matter of minutes, which further implies that Hank's location behind Sarah's home had darker intentions. Finally, Sarah's family, police officers, Hank's father, and a news crew find Hank on the beach with Manny, and in an effort to get all of them to see Hank's personal revelations about our social constructs and lack of genuine intimacy, he publicly farts for the first time. This is initially met with disgust, but this also awakens Manny for his escape across the water, in which all onlookers are perplexed. But if Manny's personality is only Hank's imagination, how does he glide across the water at the end of the film? Unlike Manny's other tricks, for this one we have several witnesses other than Hank. The last sequence is in Hank's mind and a representation of the entire film we just watched. The first fart was gross, but the last was emotional. The onlookers are representative of us, the audience, hinted by the screen within the screen. Some of us are confused or upset, and some of us are touched. Regardless of our own experience, Hank's character is complete. We have heard and understood him, for better and for worse. When he says,
It was me. I did it.
this does of course reference his gas, but also the entire series of events we have witnessed. It's a confrontation regarding what makes other people's experiences justify our own. While Manny's personality was in Hank's head, we all witnessed it. So does this make it more concrete? The film forces us to confront how much we rely on each other for our own stability, and connects to Hank's cause for instability, as he had nobody. Now, he has us. There's one subtlety in the last 10 minutes I've found myself returning to over and over. The cameraman saying,
Don't I know you? Hey, Nanny. There you are. Familiar. Are you ready?
most likely this is because Hank has had some other type of public episode in the past, and this man covered that story as well. This is my chosen interpretation, but there is another possibility. Remember how the music was in Hank's head?
The other people will stare at you if you sing, so you listen to your own music.
Well, Swiss Army Man's soundtrack was produced by none other than the actor playing this cameraman, who is actually Andy Hull of Manchester Orchestra. Maybe his comment is a reference to Andy playing a large part of Hank's character through music and lyrics. Another possibility is that the film represents a cycle, because the end of the film is the beginning. Maybe Andy Hull's character has filmed Hank's experience several times before, one of them being the film we just watched.
Oh.
There is another moment I've pondered over and over, the scene where both main characters fall from a broken pipe. While we're not given a discernible shot of exactly how Hank hasn't fallen into the water before he does, it is reasonable to infer that he has accidentally hanged himself. So is he dead from this point forward, or is this a callback to the beginning of the film, as he is struggling again with his self-worth?
It doesn't matter. That's what's important.
But regardless of these inconsistencies in whichever theory resonates with you, Swiss Army Man has two strengths that make it remarkably unique. First, it intentionally uses the lowest browed slapstick jokes for the highest caliber of existential motifs. Unlike Dumb and Dumber, which allows us to interpret that the price tag for comedy is dread, Swiss Army Man insists that we ponder the continuum of what makes us laugh and why. Secondly, Swiss Army Man effectively makes its audience empathize with a character many wish they wouldn't have. It makes us consider who we're making excuses for in our own lives. Which perverse individuals have we given a pass because we see the good in them? Even more sharply, it asks us who we're not giving a genuine chance. It is an engine for empathy if we let it be, and a reminder that in teaching others, we will learn the most about ourselves. Thanks everyone. Please like and subscribe. See you next time.
Well, see you later.